The Dr. Ray Podcast is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio. Here's today's monologue with Dr. Ray Guarendi.
I was watching a sitcom once, and the parent, when talking to the spouse about her desire for her kids, I want them to be happy. I just want them to be happy. At the time, of course, I can't shut my mouth. I make these comments. Probably drives my wife crazy when I do this. I can't just watch it. I got to make psychological comments. I said, happy. So that's in the priorities here. Happy. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I pay attention, how many of the programs that we watch on TV, in some way or another, if the topic comes up, is a parent saying, I just want my kids to be happy. Well, I have been confirmed. Well, not sacramentally just, not meaning just, not only sacramentally, but in my observation. A recent Pew Center study reports that parents want above all else for their children financial independence and a satisfying job. Okay, that's 1 and 2 now. That is 1 and 2. Graduating from college was a distant third. Getting married and having children of their own, according to this article, I like the way they said this, pulled up the rear for a marginal few. Being moral, finding meaning in life, or practicing a religion did not appear on the list of priorities. Now, how is this relevant? Well, when you compare it to other survey data, which basically says that our young people, the Gen Zers and maybe the millennials, have the highest recorded rates of anxiety and depression of any group since surveyed. The article says, with such external and materialistic aspirations for their children, it is not surprising, though it's a sad irony, that these same parents who said now they want financial independence and a satisfying job first and foremost for their kids, getting married way down, and being moral, finding meaning in life, religion, not even showing up on the radar. It is no surprising, though it's a sad irony, that these same parents reported they are most worried about their children's mental health. This is an interesting suggestion by a psychologist. The guy's name is Darby Saxby. He writes this. Boy, this is really bad for the gentle parenting folk. Quote, parents should ignore their children more often. Now, this makes for a ear-catching phrase, but here's what he means. Not so much the kids should be ignored as being decentered. Oh, by the way, sorry about that, Darby. Darby is female. She argues that today's frantic, child-centered, helicopter parenting is, quote, based on assumptions about what our children need to thrive that are not supported by evidence from most of human history. Until the last few decades, parents practiced what she calls, quote, mindful underparenting, end quote. Now, this allows kids to, quote, spend lots of time with their parents, but not usually as the parent's primary focus. Sometimes bored, sometimes engaged, I'm quoting her now. These kids spend much of their time observing adults doing adult things. Now, this is a shocker, and I can see this. She says, quote, your average daycare is probably closer to the average historical childhood experience than today's overstimulated boy or girl at the center of attention. Woohoo. Okay, I should get in trouble with this kind of stuff. Let's see if there's anything else she says. It's okay, they go on to talk about how kids observe us, and we are still the greatest influence. It says here, the good news is that among all possible influence, parents exert far and away the greatest influence on their children's religious outcomes. Well, I'd got to clarify that. I'd like to qualify it. If they so intentionally do, they can exert the greatest possible influence. All right, there you go. There's a lot more she says, but let's leave it at that. And by the way, just as a PS here, my second book was a book called Back to the Family, and we interviewed strong families, all 50 states. We were talking about spending time with your kids, and one mother observed, she said, children need boring time. They need to have time just to look at stuff, not the computer screen, like outside stuff, and curiosity stuff. They need time. I one time said this to a priest from Africa. We were talking about raising kids, and I said a lot of parents hear from their children that I'm bored. He looked at me puzzled. He said, What is that word? I said, bored? He says, yes. I said, well, it means kind of like you don't really have anything to do. And then he said, how could you not have anything to do? They did not have a word in his language, in his tribal language, for boring. Interesting, isn't it?
More of Dr. Ray's monologues can be found on his website, drray.com. Monologues as well as full-length programs of The Doctor Is In can be heard at AveMariaRadio.net and EWTN.com/radio.